Jerry, please. Afternoon, mate.
Good afternoon. So ko ingarangi te papakainga, ko kaikoni hera ore ki Waitaha, and ko Joe Davies aho. Your Worship, Council, nice to see some familiar faces. Just in a bigger context, I'd just like to acknowledge the role that Christchurch plays in the region. You are the engine, you are the population, and the well-being of Christchurch is critical to Canterbury, and I also think the well-being of Canterbury is critical to Christchurch, and we have a very strategic region. We have what I call the shining city by the peninsula. We have our agricultural plains as a belt around us, and then we have the frontier, the main divide, the mountains, and the water coming down. And so as we go into the future of government and the future of local government and the discussions that we're having, I'd always just contest that the well-being and the health of the land and what happens on the land around Christchurch is integral to the well-being of Christchurch. So some specific points from our submission, as I'm here proudly representing the Canterbury Regional Council. So we're pleased to note the establishment of a Climate Resilience Fund to support future adaptation needs for council assets, and we look forward to continuing to work together as we implement the Mayoral Forum's Canterbury Climate Partnership Plan. And we're super keen to share our science and work together because, as you know, our regional council is a repository for public data. The Central City Shuttle. So this is an interesting one. I had a bit of a briefing with staff on this yesterday. Basically, we're just keen to understand the problem that you're trying to solve here, because the city is different than it was pre-quake and when the shuttle service was offered. Obviously, the design of the city is quite different, and we've got 1,800 buses going in and out of the city every weekday. And basically, if you guys fund the investigation, you'll have to come, and depending on where that lands, if you do decide it's something a service you're gonna fund, you're gonna have to come to us for an exemption, and then we're gonna have to look at it and say, well, is this in competition with our service? And that might provide some challenges. But again, I'm kind of think it's come from you guys. It's a council push, so I support that, support democracy, and if there's a council push here, then the council at can look at it too. It's not just going to be an officers saying no type affair if you guys do decide to go along with it. And the final point is around the transport proposals, the bus priority on Lincoln Road. So we acknowledge the need to prioritise and defer work to complete the business case of phase 2 of this priority lane, this funding cycle, due to the limited funding available through the National Land Transport Programme. We'd like to see this project delivered early in the next funding round, 27 to 30, as this would provide a more reliable and attractive service. This would increase the benefits to our community following the frequency improvement, which is being implemented by us, funded through NZTA, starting at the end of this month. And also we support short term the reallocation of the existing local funding to support delivery of other key PT improvement projects, including the operation of existing bus lanes on Colombo Street and Riccarton Road. So thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Yep, thank you very much for coming in. And Yanni, please.
Yeah, thank you for your submission, and it's interesting to hear the points that you make around the Central City Shuttle. I know in other jurisdictions, one of the things that bus services provide is free hop on and hop off within a Central City area. So I was just wondering, has ECAN looked at, with the new technology, the ability to allow people to get hop on and hop off within, like, the 4Avs, for example?
We haven't, but we're going to be running a detailed business case called the Rest of Network Review, which is it's been a big push from our council as well to get this onto the table, because it's a part of PT Futures. Because as you probably know, post-quake, we went to a coverage model where we're really looking at the number of people within the space of a bus stop rather than reliability and speed. So that Rest of Network Review could pick up ideas like such as this, some new kind of innovations. But in terms of Perry Christchurch, like, it's going to be the place where we can drive efficiencies and straighten routes and stuff like this. So that's going to be a broad business case, but ideas like that will feed into that.
Melanie?
The Central City Business Association came in earlier and said for the scoping study for the shuttle, don't bother with that, just get a shuttle, park it up and see who comes along on it. So is it even possible for council to do that with working with Econ? I have no idea what the rules are.
I mean, it just depends on kind of like whether you want to do it within the legal frameworks, eh? Like at the end of the day, like once it's a public transport. Yeah.
Got Sarah and then Tyrone.
So why is it that you believe an exemption is needed? Is that because it might be seen as public transport as opposed to just being a shuttle service? So
Correct.
there are plenty of shuttle services around, if you like. Do they have to, like various taxi ones and bits and pieces, do they have to get an exemption? Or the hospital shuttle, have they got an exemption?
So it's all around the definition of public transport.
Yeah.
So if it's if you found a route to go down that meant you weren't, through the NZTA funding, what you were looking at, because we assume you try and get NZTA funding and so on and so forth. I mean, the investigation would kind of iron those kinks out.
Yeah. My understanding is it was just council run last time. So, yeah.
Councillor, there were some rule changes in 2023.
You can delegate.
And it changed a few things, so we're getting some advice on that.
Thanks.
Tyrone?
Thank you for your deputation, Councillor. Always good to see you. Is Environment Canterbury considering the extension of the public transport network to the people of Governor's Bay?
Rest of the network review. So basically, all the feedback we've had in the last triennium is going to feed into the rest of the network review. South Shore Express, Governor's Bay, all of these things.
Yeah, Pauline, please.
Hi, Joe. Your comment about perhaps being in competition with Environment Canterbury's bus services, but that's not the intention at all. My view of it is a kind of a circular thing going around the city and in a city, but there's definitely a gap down here, the West End gap, down Durham Street. So there is, kind of a dearth of accessibility here with public transport, but certainly not intended to be in competition. It's intended to be a synergy.
Yeah.
So the more people that we can get in here without their car, the more likely they are to take an Environment Canterbury bus home.
Yep, and on a personal note, I think it's great that you guys want to investigate it and look into it. I mean, it's going to be, we're going to look at what comes out of that report if that passes through this plan. And we get a lot of requests from Selwyn, and we're putting kind of, some consultation to them about their services if they're willing to fund it for a targeted rate going into the next long-term plan. So yeah, be proactive in the territories, and we'll always come in if there's public support.
Yeah, well, we need to work together.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
Celeste, please.
Two questions. They're talking about additional funding allocations that it's supportive of to complete the cycleway network. Do you have any feedback on where the prioritisation of that should be? And my second question is probably the most important. Where did you get your t-shirt from? Sorry.
New Brighton project, amazing community group. I don't have any comments on cycleway. Sorry, Celeste.
You're a clever man. Any other questions for Joe while he's here? Because we don't get Ecan chaps down here.
I'll just say no comments on cycleways, but great to see the news we've just got through on bikes back on buses from the 16th. And thanks for picking the number 8 route to put all of those buses on with the right racks and lights for the full-time use. Yep.
And lastly, Yanni, please.
I just wanted to check when the new ticketing system comes in. Like at the moment, if we wanted to get an understanding of how many people caught the bus within the 4 hours, can we do that? Or do we need to wait for the new ticketing system to come in? And when that comes in, what would stop us? Like, as someone said, like we've had a suggestion from the Chamber of Commerce that we just do a trial. So is there a way we could trial like that central city idea ahead of doing a whole network review, which might take, a couple of years?
It'll just depend on the national ticketing solution. At the moment, we collect data on people getting on the bus. We don't collect them getting off the bus. But the new system will provide that data. It's going to give us much better data.
Sorry, when is that coming in?
I'm going to hold fire on answering that.
Okay, mate. Good on you, mate.
Thank you.
See you later.